Okay. So we've reached I guess the end of the 70s, roughly.
Yes, that's right.
And then what?
And then I met Helen Hughes, who was, at that time, was head of the industry economics, or the economics department in the World Bank. And for some reason or other, she called me up and said, I'd like to have a chat. And so I had a chat, and then she was in Australia on holidays, and after she got back, she called up and said, would I like to go to the bank for a while? And so after a little bit of umming and ahhing, we decided we'd move to the bank, and on a 2-year sabbatical from the ISC. So, at first, I was a bit of a loose end, according to Helen, and so I think the debt crisis had just started in Mexico, and Helen had this. While she wasn't the greatest of economists, she as trained as a historian, she had a great appreciation of the broader pictures, I think. And so, as far as I know, she was the first in the World Bank to pick up on the debt crisis. She had me write a briefing paper about that. It was one of the first things I did. And then the next issue was China coming into the World Bank. She'd heard that China might be making an application to join, and so one weekend I wrote a 30-page briefing paper on China that she wanted to take with her on her trip with Robert McNamara to China. What turned into my 14-year career in the World Bank was basically in commodities and broadly the trade area, which initially primaries, but then manufacturing and eventually services through the Uruguay round at that time.
Okay. So let's just return briefly to the World Bank. So 14 years is a long time. A lot must have happened in that sort of length of time. So you've mentioned a couple of sort of early highlights. What were some other peak issues or memories that you have for that period?
Well, I think I built up a very strong commodity studies division there. I think at one stage there were 33 people in my division, which is a very big division for the World Bank, covering something like 52 or 3 commodities. We were running 22 global commodity models. People like Brian Fisher would come over and have a chat with us each year because we were so sort of substantial in terms of the type of work we were doing. I think we built up a really good team of people and a really good understanding of commodities. I mean, that's not to say that the forecasting, which was one of our principal tasks for the World Bank, which was making the price forecast to feed into their benefit cost analyses for projects. But one of the things I learned over the years was you can't forecast. They're essentially all random walk, and so if you do better than random walk this year, you probably won't next year. Yeah. But I think we built up a good understanding of how commodity markets work, and the pity was that after I left, they disbanded that and reduced it just to 2 or 3 people, just looking at oil and grains. That was it, but not just didn't have anything like the breadth of coverage that we had when I was there. So that it was nice. I used to boast that I knew more commodities than anybody else in the world, but not as much as any one single specialist about any one commodity, because I had to read everything that they wrote.
Okay, so back from the World Bank, back to ANU, was it?
Yes, well, Helen Hughes, after she retired from the the bank, which was a couple of years after I joined there. And she came back to ANU and established what became the National Centre for Development Studies. And so when I was thinking of coming back, because we essentially stayed while our children were at school and until they all came back here to ANU, actually to university. So when I was thinking about coming back, Helen said, well, look, I'm retiring, why don't you apply for the job? So she was a very important influence in my life. And so that I came back to what was then a pretty small National Centre for Development Studies. Had been quite a change in student cohorts. There'd been many or large percentage of the student numbers were Chinese until the Tiananmen Square incident or massacre. The centre didn't get so many Chinese after that for a while, but the Vietnamese, we got a lot of very good Vietnamese students who'd because Vietnam didn't have friendly relations with the US, the good students, which you'd normally expect to go to the US, couldn't, and they were coming to Australia, and we got quite a few of those at ANU. So I was supervising some really top-notch students, for quite a number of years, until once relationships opened up with the US, we didn't get quite such top-notch people. But that was a really exciting period of my life. Was